Hi, friends. Welcome back. I'm Emily,
And I'm Whitney.
and you're listening to Cousins Talk Crime. You're listening to a true crime podcast. Today's episode may include sensitive or triggering topics. These topics may include domestic abuse, child abuse, substance abuse, sexual assault, torture, murder, and suicide. So, Whitney, what's up in your neck of the woods?
Oh, we went and seen the new Twisters movie yesterday.
It was good?
It was so good. I loved it. I thought it was better than the first one.
See, the first one, Twister, was like one of my favorite movies growing up.
Yeah.
I wanted to be a storm chaser.
And Kaiden has always liked the original one.
Yeah.
But no, I was impressed. Like, you don't want to like get up and even get anything because you don't want to miss something.
Was there like action the whole time?
Mm-hmm.
Tornado action?
Yeah, it was good. And it had a really good storyline.
Did it?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Yay. So how was your trip to California?
Oh my gosh, it was so much fun. I feel like it went so fast though, but it was fun.
It does. They go by fast.
Yeah, I thought,
it's always like so far in the future, and then all of a sudden it's gone.
Yeah, done and over with. Are you excited about your trip?
Oh, yeah. I don't know. We just had that, did you like read in the news where the IT thing?
Outage.
Yeah. So I'm hoping like the airlines and stuff, everything is settled down by the time we fly on Monday, but
I saw a lot of TikToks of people griping about it, which I get it. Like, that sucks.
it does. And it was such a broad thing that there's no way they're going to be able to make it right for everybody.
Right.
Like, they're not going to be able to just delay flights. They're just going to be completely canceled. And if you can't find a flight, you can't find a flight. I'm sure they're going to be adding flights to the list or whatever. But yeah.
No, yeah, I saw people that were like, one of them was like a wedding party with the groom in it.
No thanks. I did see a TikTok of a woman very upset. She had a party of 8 people, and the airline was going to reimburse her $100 per ticket. And she's like, well, I paid like $460 per ticket.
Yeah.
That's unacceptable.
Yeah.
Like, for everything that's happened here, this is not acceptable. She was freaking out.
Everyone, she's not you know what I mean? Everyone's going.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying is like, it's going to be impossible for them to.
Yeah. I bet that was a madhouse. I wouldn't have want to been there.
Nope. I would have probably.
I did see even on Facebook people saying, was it like Microsoft? Like
It was some kind of cybersecurity company that Microsoft uses. And they had done like an update. They had rolled out an update. And it screwed with everybody's stuff and something like that. But it was like a cybersecurity company.
People couldn't even get their stuff open, could they? Like,
yeah,
that was working.
My employer wasn't affected by it. A lot of places weren't. I was seeing some funny TikToks that were like, most of the airlines were affected, except for like Spirit Airlines. They must not use whatever with this company. They were still flying. And everyone else was sitting still. But Spirit's like, let's go. It's a good weekend for Spirit.
Oh, gosh. I bet people are trying to get tickets on there.
I saw, for once, people were begging for Spirit Airline tickets. No, I saw, like, baggage claim, and it was just a sea of suitcases. And everyone's like, someone advised people do not check any baggage between now and like a couple months because it's a mess. And I'm nervous because I've got to check I've got to check some of my luggage to go to Vegas.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
I have a suitcase from a couple of years ago that I never have received.
Oh my gosh, really?
Mm-hmm.
So what happens when they do that? You just lose everything?
I guess. I mean, I don't know where
they don't reimburse you at all?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I probably haven't done all the correct follow-up. Like, I know at the beginning I did, but then I just got, you know what I mean? Where I
You just accepted that it
counted
was
it
gone
as a
forever.
loss.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I couldn't even tell you the clothes. You know what I mean? If I seen them, I'd be like, oh, excited. Like, it'd be a
Oh yeah, I
surprise.
forgot.
Yeah. But I couldn't even tell. And I know I had a makeup bag in there. And I mean, it wasn't a huge suitcase, but it was full, you know?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's gonna be like a little time capsule one of these days when they call you and they're like, "We got your suitcase."
I wonder what they do with them.
I don't know. I don't know.
Like, is there just a room somewhere at the airport that they keep?
Maybe. And at what point do they say, "Okay, I
It's
guess we're
been too
done"?
long.
And then what do
Yeah.
they do? They just trash it
Donate
all?
it? I don't know.
Yeah, do you donate everything in it? I don't know.
I'm sure there's a policy and this is after so, you know, if you haven't came back and claimed it.
Yeah, there probably is. What a mess. I'm just hoping that everything irons out between now and Monday and we can go smoothly because
And who did you guys say you're flying with?
Spirit.
Well, that's good. They're the ones still
They're
up and running. For some reason, Kaiden does not like that airline.
Yeah, I've not heard good things about it.
He knows more about all that than I do. But
Oh yeah,
when,
Kaiden likes such cool stuff.
yeah, when I booked, he was like, he wanted to fly Delta, which is what we did, but he's like, do not buy Spirit. I was like, okay.
Okay.
Oh yeah, he knows all of that stuff.
So we're just gonna cross our fingers and hope and pray that we survive.
You'll be fine.
At least
It'll
we'll
all
go
work
out
out.
together.
Yeah.
Oh Lord. So, friends, after all of that, me and Whitney have recorded these episodes before. And we're back here. So we recorded them like 3 weeks ago.
Before I left.
Before you left on vacation. And we realized after the third one that our mics weren't working.
It was probably 4 or 5 hours of recording.
We did. We spent a lot of time here.
So that's why the last couple weeks you've heard ones that we already recorded before.
Yeah, and I want to give a huge thank you to our Patreon members, our paying Patreon members that pay for the exclusive content. We had to release some exclusive content because we had no other option.
Yeah.
So I want to thank them. I did tell them on Patreon. I don't know if I posted this on Facebook, but I told them on Patreon I'm going to edit and release our very first 2 episodes that we never released on video.
Okay.
We're going to release it on Patreon.
Oh.
So those are our first 2 episodes. We were very
I'm trying to even think what we did.
we were new.
Very new.
It was our first one. We were both very nervous.
We had a different setup.
We did have a different setup, so you'll enjoy that, I'm sure.
I'll enjoy that. I don't even want to watch it.
So, yeah, anyway. What did you guys think of the scary story?
The Reddit one.
The Reddit scary story. I had a friend from work tell me that he listened to it and he said he liked it. He likes the spooky stuff. He also listens to other like spooky stuff on YouTube, so it was like right up his alley, I guess. But so we're going to be doing some more of those, but we're probably going to keep those exclusive Patreon members at the time.
And hopefully we get our technical difficulties worked out. So we're not recording for hours and then we can't release it.
Yeah, I just got to keep making sure our mics are going over there at all times. Okay, it is. We're good. But one more thing before we get started. We had added this to our last episode. So this is like way overdue. So I'm sorry, Michelle. But we added a duck to our little village of ducks. So Michelle joined our Patreon family as a best friend. And so, Michelle, thank you so much. This is your little duck. And this little duck is going to sit back behind Whitney. I'm going to toss it to her.
Oh.
I'm going to toss it. Hey. Beautiful. All
Yeah.
right.
Thank you, Michelle.
Yeah, thank you. So,
Are we ready?
I think we're ready.
Today I am bringing the Molly Bish case, which this isn't an Indiana case, but it's a case that really interests me, so I want to talk about it.
Okay.
Um, Molly Bish was born on August 2nd, 1983. Her parents were John and Maggie Bish. The family had moved from Detroit, Michigan to Warren, Massachusetts. Also consisted of Molly's siblings, Heather and John Jr. So Molly had two siblings. Molly was known for being outgoing and popular, as well as a bit silly. She was highly athletic. She played soccer, softball, basketball at her local high school, where she was also an honor student. So
Oh.
she was just an all around athlete, good grades.
Good kid.
Yeah. She had recently began dating one of her classmates with whom she attended prom with. Molly had a dream of one day working with children. In the summer of 2000, she had gotten a job as a lifeguard at Commons Pond, and this was a man-made pond surrounded by woods. So they called it like a little beach area. I think they had like sand and stuff, but it was like man-made. So we're not talking about like a huge beach.
Mm-hmm.
Her brother had initially worked there and held a job there for 3 years, and he's the one that got her on. So it was, he had done it his whole,
Mm-hmm.
high school, and then she wanted to kind of take his place and work there. This is the morning of Molly's disappearance. It was about 9 a.m. on June 27th, 2000. Molly and her mother had found out that one of her soccer teammates had been hit by a car while biking to work and had been seriously injured. Molly was really upset hearing this news, but she had just started this job and it was her eighth day and it was her first day of giving swim lessons to kids. So even though she was upset, she still wanted to go to work.
Yeah.
And I feel like that, I mean, at that age, I think she was 16, that just shows, I feel how dedicated she probably was to, she could have easily been I'm not coming in today,
That would have been me.
Yeah.
I'm not that dedicated.
No, I would have
Any
definitely
any
missed work
excuse.
at 16. It would have
Any
been
excuse.
yeah.
But yeah, dedicated.
Yeah.
And that she really liked what she was
Mhm.
enjoying what she was doing. Yeah.
Yeah. So her and her mom around 9:50, they were on their way because her mom had a driver. They stopped at a local convenience store and grabbed some water bottles, and this was, I guess, captured on surveillance footage. And afterwards, they drove to the police station to pick up the required two-way radio. There were no telephones at communications at the Commons Pond, so the radio was the only way the lifeguards could contact the police. So they kept them in case there was an incident happening, they could just easily
They
radio
could call
them in. Yeah.
911 or whatever.
Yeah. So Molly and her mother arrived at the pond around 10 a.m., which was just a little before her first swim lessons were supposed to start. Sandra Woodsworth, which was a local woman of Warren, her and her kids arrived at the local beach for Molly's swim lessons, only to find a deserted lifeguard station. The items present were an open first aid kit, a backpack sitting on the bench, a towel draped over the bench chair with a whistle wrapped around the arm, a pair of sandals on the ground, and a water bottle, which was the one she picked up at the gas station. But Molly herself was nowhere to be found. And she said she arrived at the swimming lessons around 10:20. So she was dropped off at 10, and then this happens, 20 minutes later, the kids are getting there for swim lessons and
She's
no
gone.
Molly. Yeah.
So that happened quick.
But all her belongings, are there.
Oh.
So the mom of the kids that are supposed to have swim lessons reported it to her boss. And They didn't take it seriously. Her boss didn't. He thought she might have just walked off to go talk to, other people there, which I guess when Molly's mom dropped her off, she said she didn't see any, you know what I mean? She was like one of the first ones there. So I don't know what the boss was, but he did not take it seriously. Um, it wasn't till 11:45 that Molly's boss reported to the police that he still couldn't find, like she still hadn't come back. So that's over like an hour later. Um, the police department also didn't take the report seriously, assuming that she just ditched work to go hang out with her friends. I guess they're thinking the 16-year-old, you know what I mean? Like she just walked off, like she put her stuff there and then found something better to do that day. I don't know.
If if she was going to do that, why even go to work?
What?
Like
Right.
if she was going to be the type of kid that did that, she just wouldn't have even went to work. She'd been like, I don't want to work today.
Right.
How come so many of these cases happen because people don't take it seriously? Just imagine if someone took it seriously, they may have found her.
Mm-hmm. And I get like this is her eighth day, so the boss maybe doesn't have like a good rapport with her yet.
Mm-hmm.
He might be thinking, oh, you know, she's the typical 16-year-old that has something better going on right now. But when 1 o'clock rolled around and Molly still hadn't returned to her post, the police then notified her parents.
So she got there at 10, and this is 1, right?
Yep. The mom couldn't find her at 10:20. The swim lessons mom.
So 3 hours
Yeah.
before we're calling. Okay,
Her parents.
her mom.
Yeah, to even let her know like she's not been seen since you dropped her off, basically.
That is so weird to me. Why did they call her first thing? Why did they call police before they called her mom?
I do not know.
Like,
Because
hey,
maybe
mom,
her
do you know
mom would have
something?
known, yeah.
Yeah, do you know something, mom? Why is a 16-year-old like should have a parent contact that they call for? What year was this
Mm-hmm.
again?
2000.
I feel like the world changed after 9/11, so
Yeah.
I'll give them a pass because the world was still not a scary place, I guess.
Yeah. So upon hanging up with police, Maggie, her mom, called Heather, which is her sister, to inform her of the situation. Heather agreed with her mother that something was wrong, so they met at the police station where they were told there was nothing to be concerned about. According to the authorities, Molly was probably upset about her friend being hurt and had gone to blow off some steam. So, but the mom and sister, I mean, they weren't buying this at all because they know their daughter and they were just like, that doesn't sound like Molly, like she's not running off, blowing off steam.
Like, yeah, I think I know her a little bit better than you guys do.
Yeah. So Maggie and Heather set to work looking for their missing family member. They checked to see if anyone had visited her friend at the hospital and found Molly hadn't been amongst her visitors. So they were thinking maybe she did go visit, her friend that just got hit today. Her sister also went to her boyfriend's house, but he hadn't heard anything from her all day. And I guess just kind of like the police, he wasn't concerned because I mean, I feel like it was her first boyfriend at 16. They probably weren't like, I mean, he was just like, I'm not worried about, you know what I mean? Like, she's just, who knows where she's at. So, despite not being worried, Molly's boyfriend and Heather, the sister, drove to the pond to meet with the mom, where they wondered why Molly hadn't taken her shoes with her if she'd gone off on her own. They were like, why are her sandals here if she just decided to leave? Why are her flip-flops still sitting on the ground?
Yeah.
While there, Maggie argued with police and said her daughter wouldn't have left her post as she's been worried about the kids started swim lessons and she was excited about having swim lessons today. That was her whole point. And that her like sandals are still right here with all her stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like The Bish family refused to believe that Molly just up and left her shift. Molly was a responsible young girl, and she was excited, like I said, about giving lessons that day, and it just wouldn't be like her to up and leave and not tell anyone. Upon being brought on, so the authorities there, they at this point started thinking maybe after talking to the family, like something is up. Like
Yeah.
maybe she didn't just run off. So I feel like give them kudos. They brought in the not the Indiana, but they brought in the state police
Okay.
because they were like, this doesn't happen there, and they're like, if this is what's going on, they were like, we're not equipped for this.
Oh, well, that's good.
And I feel like a lot of police stations don't do. You know what I
No,
mean?
they're,
You
we
know.
know everything.
Mm-hmm.
We're well equipped.
Yeah. No, they immediately brought in the state police.
Well, good.
So the state police got there and they wondered if Molly could have drowned in the pond, something her family immediately disagreed with, as she was a strong swimmer. This theory upset her brother John, and he actually ran in the water and started swimming and searching for his sister, only to be pulled out by authorities. A dive team and boats were brought in to search the pond, but after several hours, they had found nothing. The search, along with then they started searching the woods, and this goes into the night. Like they first search the pond, nothing. They start searching for the woods, and it's starting to get late, so they call off the search until the morning. So they're finally at least taking it seriously.
Yeah.
But sadly, this is just hours after she's, been missing. So at 6 a.m. on June 28th, which is the next day, law enforcement deployed all units, including a helicopter with infrared imaging and K9 units as well. Townspeople initiated their own search parties, and businesses printed out posters of missing person flyers on their storefronts. Police began to look at a path that led from the beach at Commons Pond to a nearby cemetery, as they thought if someone had abducted Molly, they could have exited the area through this path and not be seen. So I guess along the woods, there was this little path that led back to a cemetery. As well, since Molly's first aid kit was open, those investigating speculated that someone could have faked an injury and she was abducted while trying to help them. Upon hearing this, her mom realized that she might have seen who abducted her daughter, as she remembered seeing a suspicious looking man at the pond the day before she disappeared. So at this moment, it kind of jolts with her mom that, oh my gosh, like I do remember this guy the day before.
This weirdo.
Yeah. And according to Maggie, the morning she had started out like any other, this is the day before, and her and Molly had arrived at the pond. They noticed a white vehicle parked in the parking lot. While Maggie watched her daughter, she noticed the man in a vehicle was watching her too. As he appeared to be glaring at her, Maggie stayed with Molly while she organized her station. So she ended up seeing this man, staring at her. So instead of just dropping her daughter off, I guess she actually got out, walked her daughter to her station, helped her set it up, went back to her car, and he was still there. And she stayed there and stared at him till he eventually left.
Mm-hmm.
So she made a comment that she wasn't just going to leave with this man still sitting in the parking lot. She said that Molly hadn't been worried about him. She was thinking he was like a fisherman or something because her mom brought it up to her. So when asked for a description of the man, Maggie described him as approximately 50 years old with salt and pepper hair. He had dark eyes, a mustache, and had been smoking a cigarette. She worked with an artist to complete a composite sketch of the unknown man, and when shown the image, John Jr. didn't recognize him as a regular of the Commons Pond. Since he had worked there for a while, he was like, I've never, that guy doesn't look familiar. Upon learning about the encounter, police set up a roadblock and asked townspeople about the vehicle. where they learned it had been seen at the cemetery near Commons Pond a few days prior. As well, the district attorney's office ordered a search of 125 white vehicles from the area, but given they couldn't determine the type of vehicle Maggie had seen, it didn't result in any new leads. So they ended up trying to find out who was
Mm-hmm.
in that vehicle. Thousands of tips were called in from across the United States regarding the man, but they didn't result in anything. When police returned to Commons Pond, they found the scene had been completely contaminated by those who had first responded.
Mm.
There were too many new fingerprints and footprints, and they found a ton of used cigarettes. As such, they were unable to find any concrete evidence because they literally didn't take it seriously, those first. I guess someone else got up and they moved her stuff because no one was treating it like a crime scene.
Oh gosh.
I mean, there was like 3 or 4 hours
Why
where.
would she leave her flip-flops behind?
Mm-hmm.
That should be the number one thing. Why, if she was just gonna leave for the day, she would put her flip-flops on.
Right.
Common sense.
So, since there was no evidence to work on, since it all been contaminated, police began to think up theories about what had happened to Molly. One was that she could have voluntarily left, as they were reported sightings from across the country. But her family firmly believed she wouldn't have left without telling them. Another was that she knew her attacker. While her boss and her boyfriend were considered persons of interest at first, the former had an alibi and the latter was cooperative with the investigation and passed a polygraph test. They were just looking at anyone close or could have, done it. Hoping to uncover some new leads, investigator looked into the area's sex offenders. While they checked for alibis that proved to be difficult, as many were not gainfully employed, several were called in for polygraphs, and some showed signs of deception. Detectives also ran through John Sr.'s old cases in case someone could have taken Molly as an act of revenge, but most of those spoken to only had kind words to say about him. So her dad was an ex-cop and a detective, so they were like, maybe this is some type of,
Revenge plot.
revenge, but they said they couldn't even find anyone who didn't even not like him. So, eventually, they still are looking for, but they have to quit, This was in 2000, and years go by with still no sign of Molly.
Ugh.
It wasn't till in May 2003, so 3 years later, 2 unrelated tips came in saying Molly had been sighted in Miami, Florida. Investigators were prepared to make a trip down to Florida to follow up on it until on May 16th, they received a tip from a retired cop who believed the missing girl's disappearance was related to the 1993 abduction and murder of another young girl named Holly. I want to say it's Peranine. I don't know. It's a really hard last name to pronounce.
It's all good.
In 1993, Holly and her brother were visiting their grandmother in Sturbridge, Massachusetts. While out with her brother, she disappeared and only her shoe was found. So I guess this detective had been looking into Holly's case, and they're very close proximity and close distance to each other. But he, in his head, thought the cases were connected. When this Holly was abducted and murdered, it was back in 1993, so just 7 years prior to Molly. So Molly would have been 10 years old at the time of Holly's murder. What is, I thought, absolutely crazy. So Heather, which is Molly's sister, she went to like the news channel and told this story about how Molly wrote a letter to Holly's family back when she went missing. So Molly was only 10, And I guess it was on the news, this girl was missing. And she said, my sister was a very empathetic person, and so she wrote the family a letter and included one of our family pictures in it, Heather said. Um, the family, so Holly's family, who she was, murdered back in 1993, when they saw that Molly was missing, they actually brought the letter that Molly wrote them to the family and was like, do you guys remember? And I guess they were hoping to bring them some comfort to show like how good of a daughter they had. But they said they came to our house with the letter and said, did you remember that Molly did this? And of course, none of them had remembered it. So their families were like connected. But isn't that wild
That
that,
is.
yeah, she wrote that family letter being like, and it was basically like, I hope you find Holly, like she's beautiful, and then put a picture of her family in the letter and sent it to them. And then she went missing
And this
7 years later.
cop thinks they're connected. That's wild. And it's Holly and Molly.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah. So, 3 years after Molly's disappearance, finally a big break comes in the form of Timothy McGain. So he is the one that is the cop who thinks they're connected. He was a former police officer, and he really was looking into Holly's case, and he was the one trying to connect them. He said they both have blue eyes, blonde hair, and that they didn't only share like similar traits, but also he said both the girls, were both bubbly, like happy girls.
Oh.
So he was actually writing a true crime account about Holly's case when he stumbled upon Molly's. When he got involved with the investigation, he started questioning hunters in a similar fashion of how Holly's body was found. Given both girls were blonde, blue eyes, were taken from isolated areas, and were in close proximity to each other, investigators looked into the possibility that the same person who murdered Holly was responsible for Molly's disappearance. Because they never caught the guy who killed Holly. That's still
Unsolved.
yeah.
Ugh.
As such, hunters from the local area were interviewed, with one saying he'd seen something suspicious months earlier, but at the time had thought nothing of it. Going off the hunter's tip, police went to a wooded area in Palmer, Massachusetts, and discovered a piece of cloth that appeared to be part of a blue bathing suit, the same color as the one Molly had been wearing when she disappeared. It was sent away to have DNA tests performed on it. Upon discovering the piece of cloth, a massive search was done of the area covering 500 acres. It was the largest search in Massachusetts history at the time. 6 days into it, DNA testing proved this swimsuit did belong to Molly.
Ugh.
So on June 3rd, 2003, police searching Whiskey Hill in Palmer discovered a human bone that belonged to someone aged between 14 to 20. After more researching, a total of 26 more bones were recovered. DNA testing confirmed them to be Molly. However, the search brought up no evidence that would point investigators to her killer. So on August 2nd, 2003, Molly was buried on what would have been her 20th birthday.
Oh no.
So it's just wild to me that it was there. I'll have to look at how far this like wooded area is from the Commons
Yeah.
Pond because I'm curious. I just think that's kind of bizarre. I'm actually just going to look for myself real quick.
And they only found 26 bones. Don't you have like 200 bones in your body?
Right.
So where are all the other bones?
So 11.8 miles, a 20-minute drive.
Yeah, that probably was outside of their
Yeah.
perimeter to look.
Yeah. So yeah, whoever did it, I mean, drove her 20 miles away. That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So, after finding Molly, police believe their suspect to be a white male between the ages of 18 to 50 who was known to the area through either hunting or fishing. He most likely had a history of violence against women. They're trying to form, who it could have been. So then you go to in 2005, so 2 years after her body was found, a Connecticut resident was charged with attempted kidnapping. For a time, they were briefly under investigation in connection to Molly's case. In order to help bring in new leads, the Bish family hired a private investigator. His name was Tom Shamshak. So then we're going to February 2008. A man named Rodney Stagner was arrested in Marion County, Florida for the murder of his girlfriend. The reason why he'd caught the attention of Massachusetts police was that someone had called the district's attorney's office saying he was involved in Molly's murder based on a conversation with his dead girlfriend. So during the time of Molly's disappearance and murder, Stanger, who was a resemblance to the composite sketch of the man Maggie had seen, had lived in the Warren area and was an avid fisherman and hunter who fished at Commons Pond. So he was known to have a violent history and had moved from Southbridge, Massachusetts to Summersville, Florida about a year after Molly's disappearance. So he was local at the time, then just upped and moved. His brother also owned a white Chrysler that looked similar to the car Maggie had seen. So Stanger was interviewed but denied any involvement in Molly's case. He would later plead guilty to his girlfriend's murder and is currently serving time in prison. So even though they never brought any charges against him. So that was 2008. So then in 2012, police decided to search Stringer's home after his deceased girlfriend's sister claimed to have found suspicious materials there. So, upon finding his Massachusetts issued firearms ID, it was found he looked extremely similar, I guess, to the mystery man seen at the pond. A witness would later come forward to say they'd seen a man who matched the description in the Commons Pond parking lot to him just minutes before Molly and her mother arrived. So they had a witness come forward saying they saw him that day, the same day she died, and left. A local worker also reported seeing a similar car parked at the cemetery that was down the path from the pond. Like he was waiting at the cemetery, I guess, when they got there. He was also questioned in connection with the 1993 murder of Holly. He has not been charged in relation to either case. Which, I mean, I don't think they have any evidence to test against.
Yeah, they don't have anything.
They don't have anything to, connect anyone with.
Yeah, I mean, they found her bones 3 years after. They can't even determine a cause of death.
No, they only found 23 bones.
Yeah. So you can't even try to go off of that. Because I feel like the Jill Bierman one that we did very first is they were able, when they saw her bones several years after, they were able to tell that there was a gunshot wound. They don't have anything for her.
So it said police began testing the DNA in persons of interest against the DNA they'd gathered in the case and against some of the evidence. They also asked people to voluntarily submit their DNA for testing. In 2011, Gerald Battistoni was named a suspect in the case by private investigator Dan Malley. So this is a different one. At the time he was announced a suspect, he was serving time for raping a teenager in the 1990s, and he was initially a confidential informant for this county narcotics task force. When police looked into his possible involvement in not only Molly's case, but Holly's as well, they found he'd been in the area where Molly's remains were found and that he also resembled the composite sketch. After being named a suspect in the two cases, he attempted suicide. He would later die in prison in 2014.
Well, that tells you something, right? I mean, does that not tell you that he did it?
I don't know. I mean, that he was at the location where her remains were. I feel like that's pretty big.
Well, and just the fact that he tried to commit suicide after people. Like, you try to kill yourself after they say you're a person of interest.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that says you're guilty.
In 2013, a new racetrack was being dug in the area near where Molly's remains were found. So investigators educated the construction crew on what to look for because they're like,
You may find some more.
mm-hmm. They informed the crew on what Molly had been wearing and that they might find human remains, as not all of her bones had been found back in 2003. Cadaver dogs were brought in to see if any scents were released into the air. In 2014, a partially buried bag was found underneath a log in the woods near the Sportsman Club in Palmer by a private investigator. The area was across the road from where Molly's remains had been found. So, inside the bag were a pair of plaid boxer shorts that were similar to the ones I guess Molly had been wearing the day she went missing. So maybe she had them like over her swimsuit.
Was that like a thing back in the day
I
that
don't
girls
know.
wore boxer shorts as
I
shorts?
don't know.
Okay. Or maybe it was the brand Boxer and they were shorts. So they weren't like men's underwear.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So in 2014, I mean, they still aren't getting, no one's been arrested. They have all these possible suspects, but nothing's coming of it. The Bish family held a campaign called Just One Piece, which resulted in 4 different people coming forward to identify a new person of interest in the case. While some of this information has been withheld as not to jeopardize the investigation, what had been shared says that witnesses recalled seeing a man visit the old campground in West Brookfield, Massachusetts, just a few miles from where Molly was taken, and had left the same day she disappeared. According to the witnesses, he had returned the day after, and his face was bloody and scratched. He had been yelling about something bad happening in the woods the night before, and 6 months later, he was heard bragging about how he knew he was a person of interest in the case, but had never been interviewed. The family eventually hired another investigator named Sarah Stein, who told them that authorities would be searching for the car Molly's killer could have been driving. She'd received a tip that revealed a car that was similar to the one Maggie had seen had been buried in a former campground site in the Brookfield area. So they got a tip saying a car was buried and it was the same. Investigators used ground penetrating radar to search for the car and found compelling anomalies at multiple areas of interest that led them to search the campground again a few days later. This has led Sarah to believe something is buried in the area. So, in 2017, volunteers went to the campground to search for the suspected car. While state troopers were present, it was not considered an official part of the volunteer search effort. According to her sister, a man who physically resembles the composite sketch of the suspect still lives in the area, is a hunter and fisherman and had access to the campground through a friendship with the property's former owner. She also said that heavy construction equipment needed to bury a car was available at the campground around the time Molly went missing and has since been sold. In 2017, her case was still open and no one's been arrested for it, and nothing, I guess, at this time. They never found the car that was supposedly, buried there. Um,
That's wild. I don't think I've ever
mm-hmm,
heard of anybody burying a car.
mm-mm.
That's strange.
It says Molly's case has been profiled on such shows as Disappeared, America's Most Wanted, Unsolved Mysteries, and 48 Hours. Um, Maggie and John Sr., her mom and dad, have started the Molly Bish Foundation, which is dedicated to improving safety awareness and prevention for all children. They also helped pass a law that brought the Amber Alert system to Massachusetts.
Wow. So the Amber Alert wasn't like
I guess.
everywhere in 2000?
Mm-mm.
That's wild.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
It says in October 2018, Molly's boyfriend at the time, well, that she disappeared, died in a car crash.
Oh.
John Jr. has since become an EMT in memory of his sister. He also helps his parents work along the side of the stuff they do. On the 10-year anniversary, I know they had a vigil at the Commons Pond. So this was, back in 2017-18. So then I want to keep going. On December 2021, so this is 21 years have passed since Molly Bish went missing. Molly's older sister thinks the family may finally be getting some close to having an answer about what happened that day. Heather Bish said she's learned from investigators that a DNA sample from the son of a person of interest in the case has been collected. That DNA was taken from Francis Sooner Jr., the son of Francis Sooner Jr. Sr. in June. He was announced a person of interest in Molly's kidnapping and killing, but has not said what exactly linked him to the case. The younger, his son, is incarcerated at the London Correctional Institution in Ohio for aggravated robbery, according to records from the Ohio Department of Corrections. This is from her family. This is a long journey, Bish said. I do feel confident that they brought this person forward a few months ago and they are giving it the full throttle of their efforts. So I'm very satisfied and grateful that the Worcester District Attorney Office is working so hard on this case, even after all these years. So in 2021, there's this new, and I guess his last name is Sumner, Sumner. Am I saying that wrong?
Maybe it's Sumner.
Sumner?
It might be Sumner.
Sumner was a former Spencer resident. He was convicted of aggravated rape and kidnapping in the 1980s, as was known to operate and work at auto repair shops in the area. So again, history of violence. But he's also passed. He died in May 2016. So they're just trying to get this, I guess, records from his son. They said the state police have received and followed up on nearly 100 tips related to Francis Sumner being the person of interest. So they've had 100 people say that this is the guy.
Wow.
Several of which did result in information that has helped to move the case forward. That her sister Heather Bish has been using TikTok to spread more awareness about Molly's case. She's asked any information to come forward. And I guess, I know we've heard this with all of them, but I guess everyone says he's a dead ringer for the sketch, which I feel like each person they've had, they said they resemble it.
I still think it's weird that that guy tried to commit suicide after he was named. So, like, I'm My mind thinks it's that other guy.
And I didn't put it on here, but I did. Let me get to it. I wanted to. I'm almost done, but yeah, this was a news article and it is from July 2024. This month.
Right now. Now.
And it says Thursday marked 24 years since Molly Bish disappeared while working as a lifeguard at Commons Pond in Warren. The remains of the 16-year-old were discovered 3 years later, just a few miles away in Palmer. The case remains open with no arrest and no charges in her murder. Yesterday, my parents and I spent the day at the beach, Heather Bish, Molly's sister, said Friday in a phone interview. Some of our best memories as a family with Molly were at the beach, and we just had a wonderful and peaceful day honoring and thinking of her. Bish explained that the family often gets together this time of the year to support one another and remember Molly. She's currently working on a book and recording a podcast about her sister.
Wow.
So when that comes out, we'll all have to take a listen because I'm sure she has so much more information.
Oh, absolutely.
I definitely want to listen to it.
Yes.
I'm going to have to look up the sister on TikTok.
I was
I'm
literally
sure...
pulling up my phone to do that.
Yeah. And it talks about in 2021 how that Francis Sumnar Sr., a man with a lengthy criminal record that spanned 5 years, was identified as a person of interest in the case, but he died in 2016. It says, we've had a number of persons of interest over the years, and a number of analysts performed. I've really had to become my own DNA expert and try to understand the complicated test, Heather Bish said. I've also tried so many things over the years. I've taken out ads in newspapers, consulted with experts. I've had the opportunity to work on task force with the governor, but we have yet to uncover this person. The person who did this to Molly, I know it's not my responsibility, but as the family of a victim, you feel like it's your job to do so. The Bish family has advocated fiercely over the last 24 years for proper training for police involved in similar cases, especially on how officials respond to report of a missing person. I mean, you got to look at how bad I feel like they messed up those first. If they could have got an alert out the 20 minutes after she wasn't at her lifeguard stand and her sandals were there, we could have maybe had a possibly different outcome. That's such a long time span they took before even actually looking for her.
Yeah.
Her mom wasn't called till 1 o'clock and she was missing at 10:20.
She's a minor. I don't know why we didn't call mom. That one is like kind of effed up.
Her mom pulled out of the parking lot and probably made it home and she was missing.
Yeah.
And didn't get a call till 1 o'clock.
Yeah. I saw a study and I don't remember it exactly, so I will say something wrong. So don't quote me on it. But it's something like 75% of people that go missing and are going to be killed by their abductor are dead within 3 hours. So the fact that it was 3 hours after we even told her mother about it, she was probably already dead. Statistics show she was probably already dead.
Yeah.
So,
but in that moment when all her belongings are there and her sandals are there, if they could have got people looking right then and there, got her mom thinking about that car, I mean,
things would be totally different.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
And it says, look at the Karen Reed trial. Whether you believe she's guilty or not, it's clear the investigation done by police was not done correctly, she said. Adding, she couldn't believe blood from the crime scene was collected in Solo cups. So she's a big...
She's with us on the Solo cups thing.
It's become disheartening over the years, she said. From my perspective, all I have left is my own voice. I can't make the district attorney consult with the experts that I've been able and fortunate enough to consult with. Our state police detective continuously work with the crime lab to assess evidence that can be reanalyzed thanks to changes in science, including additional DNA testing. I feel very strongly, and I hope for the future that science will bring this person to light for us, and that the state police will utilize the technology in DNA testing, said Bish. Bish added the clothing Molly was last seen wearing included red, plaid patterned boxing shorts and an off-white ribbed tank top that have not been recovered. So she's saying those clothes are still out there. They go on to say they're doing everything to solve the case. But I mean, this was just this month. This was July 1st is when
Wow.
her sister spoke out. And Molly or Holly's case, neither one of them have arrest made in them.
That's crazy. I found her TikTok.
You did. What is her
So-
TikTok handle?
Okay. So get on TikTok and go find her. It is Heather K. Bish. And like the name is Justice for Molly Bish. And don't pay attention to my hands because I got a spray tan and the hands did not go well. But that's a video of her. It looks like she's in her podcast studio.
Yeah.
Getting ready to do her thing. So I'm gonna
Oh my gosh, she resembles her sister.
follow. Oh,
You can definitely see
Follow.
the resemblance.
yeah, definitely.
I can't wait to watch her videos and listen to her now.
Yeah. I am. I followed her, so I'm gonna go through all of her stuff here in a little bit. Yes, awesome.
So, yeah, I feel like I'm glad her sister, it seems like, is taking steps to maybe get better because the timing on that is wild to me, how long it took.
That was just inexperience, and
Mhm.
I don't know. I feel like none of those police officers or people could have been parents. Because if you were like a parent to a child, you would feel differently about it.
But I feel like her boss, I don't even know how long I think it was an hour before they even called the police. You know, from when he was like, oh, she's still not here. Maybe I should call this in. Very sad.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very sad situation. And obviously it's still open and ongoing. So any tips or anything, but it's crazy still that all her body parts haven't been found or clothing. Hopefully one day she gets justice.
I hope, but every good lead is dead, right? Every good suspect.
It sounds like it, yeah. I think there might be one, that's still in. And me and Emily, when she does the YouTube, I'll have to send her the pictures of the sketch with the people they, brought in.
Yeah.
And I know that last one they're talking about, he does look identical.
Really?
Yeah, but it's just, I don't know. With so little to go off of, I feel like it's very hard.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, they don't even have a cause of death.
Yeah, that's the only thing that got Jill Bierman's
Mm-hmm.
killer. I still don't know how I feel about her killer, but anyway, that's what caught him was because they were able to determine what kind of gun. If they would have never found her body,
Right.
they would have never known who did it. So,
yep. I will definitely be tuning into her TikTok and her podcast.
Yeah. I think next time, we should do a bonus episode where we are touching back on some old stuff, like stuff that has updates, and do that as a bonus episode.
Yeah, that's
like
a good idea.
spend like 15 minutes talking about
each one,
Karen Reed, talking about some stuff or Crystal Rogers, stuff that has had updates. I
have been looking for updates on Crystal Rogers. Does it have updates?
I haven't seen lately, but I think right now they're just kind of they're collecting all the evidence. They're keeping quiet about everything because they've got the trial date set. So I'm going to try so hard not to talk with my hands during my episode because they're so bad.
I'm going to try, if she will, maybe let her sister listen to our podcast if she can.
Oh, yeah. See if you
If we
can
can, yeah.
message her on TikTok or something.
And tell her that we, dropped her handle.
I want to make us a TikTok. It's just so much work.
I think
So
I
much
did at
extra
one
work.
point, like, create our name.
Oh, okay.
But we don't have any. I think I did.
Videos
But
yet?
I think it's just, an empty.
No, it's all good. I want to do that because
Or maybe I dreamed it.
TikTok's a really good platform. It's just so much work.
Yeah, I did. I'm following it. But
Oh,
we have 11 followers.
what? We have 11 followers already.
But
We haven't posted a
no, we
video.
haven't liked anything. We haven't made a post, and we're not following anybody.
Well, we can start. Oh, nice.
Yeah, so we have a TikTok that doesn't have videos. It's just at Cousins Talk Crime.
We'll get there.
Yeah, if you guys want to go ahead.
Yeah, give us a follow and we will start.
And shout out to the 11 people that are following us.
Heck yeah. They're probably mostly those like fake accounts that follow you, hoping that you'll follow them.
It's your mom.
Oh, my mom.
Sarah, Daniel.
Oh, so they're real
Real
people.
people. Yeah, wow. They're all real people.
Wow. I don't think I'm following us. Let me just do that real quick. I didn't even know we had a TikTok. Cousins.
I think I did it like at the very early you know what I mean, when we were getting.
Woo, follow. Wow, we got 12 followers. Wild and crazy.
Then I found out with the rest of you that we do have TikTok.
Well, don't forget to give our podcast a like and a follow on Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, all the things. TikTok. Come see us on Facebook.
Shout out to our listeners. I've got a lot of sweet messages here recently.
Yeah.
Of people that just really enjoy it. And it does like warm my heart. I'm like, oh, people do listen.
Oh, have we talked about the time that you got recognized?
No. I was at this little store I love in Sullivan. It's called Country Attic. And I go there randomly all the time. And a lady was like, you look so familiar. Like, I can't. And I'm like, never seen her before, but I was just like, and I kept going. Well, when I came back to check out, she was like, I know how I know you. I watch your podcast. I thought it was funny because she's like, so I do know you, but I don't really know you.
I know you, but you don't know me.
Yeah. It was cute, though.
I was at Save-A-Lot a couple weeks ago. I Save-A-Lot in Linton. And I was just walking around. Me and my husband were grabbing some groceries. And this person comes up. She was very sweet. So shout out to you. I didn't get your name. But she was like, are you a cousin? Yeah, I'm a cousin. Oh, she means that cousin. She's like, I'm one of your fans.
Oh, that's so sweet.
It was precious. So yeah, if you ever see us out, say hi.
Say hi.
Because
we love knowing you're a fan.
A lot of us, we know a lot of you guys, but a lot of us,
we don't.
We don't. Yeah. And we would love to know who's listening. So that's cool. But all right. Is that it?
That is the end.
All right. I guess we can wrap this one up. And thank you for listening.
Thank you.
We'll catch you in the next one. Bye.
Bye.